I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. This is the National SBEEP website tour that you are on today. And Belinda Breidenbach from Idaho is your co-host. I'm Nancy Larson, and Allison Crowther is working behind the scenes to make sure everything goes smoothly. So thank you so much for joining us. Just a little bit of housekeeping for you. If you toggle your mouse towards the bottom of your screen, you will see a lower horizontal menu. That allows you to mute or unmute yourself, and we ask you to stay muted unless you are speaking. And that also allows you to see the various participants. Looks like we've got about 22 participants right now. And I think what we will do is we will first go to our NSC chair and have Lisa Aschenbrenner Hunt from Wisconsin do a welcome for us, and then we'll go into introductions. So Lisa, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Nancy. Yeah, so I'm Lisa. I'm from the Wisconsin Small Business Program, and I'm also currently the chair of the National Steering Committee. So I want to welcome everybody here today. I think we maybe have some new people on here that haven't seen in the past. So that's awesome. Welcome to anybody who's new to our programs. So I'm going to start out with just giving a quick overview of what the National Steering Committee does and how to get involved if you're interested. So the National Steering Committee is kind of a collective voice for all the small business programs and small business ombudsmen throughout the country. The mission is to serve and support and strengthen the small business environmental assistance programs through representation and collaboration. So basically, it's a way for us to kind of have a collective voice at the national level and work together. So the steering committee is comprised of representatives from each of the 10 EPA regions, and then we also have representatives from the various subcommittees that attend as well. So if you're relatively new to the program or you don't know who your regional representative is, there's usually a representative and then an alternate. So definitely take a look at the web page that you're seeing here and get to know your regional reps a little bit. And that's important because if you all have issues or things that you think should be discussed at a national level, feel free to reach out to your regional representatives and they can bring that information to the subcommittee. We definitely welcome anybody who has input to bring that to our attention. At the same time, they hopefully bring the information that we're discussing on the NSC calls to the rest of their region and passing that information on. So the main purpose is just to kind of maintain those relationships as a national group with EPA and other organizations, and have kind of a place for us to strategically discuss kind of where we want to go nationally as the small business programs. Sometimes we'll write comment letters to EPA or to other organizations, either to just promote our programs or to comment on specific regulations. It's a way for us to kind of have a voice in the rulemaking process without having to go through, everything you'd have to go through for a single person to maybe be able to submit a comment letter on behalf of their agency or something. This is coming just from the national committee as a whole. Recently we've been really focused on trying to get what we call small business regional liaisons, or RSBLs. You'll see the abbreviated regional small business liaisons in each region, and that's a contact for the small business programs in each EPA region at EPA that can kind of help help with those relationships, help connect you to the people in your region at EPA when you have questions, or just promote small business programs. So that's something that a lot of regions have had in the past, and we've been kind of struggling to get those positions filled recently, but that's just one example of something that we're really focusing on right now, as well as creating relationships with our new representative in OAQPS, the Office of Quality Planning and Air Quality Planning and Standards. We have a new regional a new representative from that EPA program that's working with us, Rhonda Wright. So we're working on kind of building those relationships there. So in general, it's just a way for us to all get together and work together collectively so that our programs can do more together than we can as just individual small programs.
That's great, Lisa. Thank you so much. And I wanted Lisa to do the welcome. She has another meeting she has to leave for, so that was absolutely perfect, Lisa. And we really appreciate all your leadership, as well as your co-chair, Jennifer Collins from Indiana. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and feel free, anybody, to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do now, and Allison, I may need a little bit of your help with this, is we are going to ask people to introduce themselves, because I think it's important for us to kind of connect by voice, since we're all not in the same room, and we want to know who's on our tour today, right? And so, first of all, we do have a couple people from EPA joining us today, and I want to welcome you. And if you are from EPA, could you please introduce yourself, unmute yourself, and introduce yourself? All right. Well, I know that we have Paula Hogue. There she goes. She's unmuted.
Can you hear me?
You bet.
Okay. Hi, yeah, this is Paula Hogue. I work in the EPA Small Business Office, and we do support the National SBEEP website and support through a cooperative agreement. And we've been really excited and happy with the website and all the support that Kansas State and Nancy Larson has provided. So just wanted to say hello. Let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you, Paula. And I believe your colleague Elnora is on.
Yes, I think she might be on mute.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll see.
There we go. Oh, that's all right. Well, Elnora and I were just emailing this morning. Elnora is the editor for the ASBO newsletter, and we do some columns in that newsletter. And you can always get to it through our What's New scrolling page here. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the work that we do with that newsletter here. So next, could we go to, if you are from Region 1, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself? Anyone from Region 1? Okay, how about Region 2?
Hi, this is Jasmine from Region 2, Virgin Islands.
Welcome, Jasmine. Who else is Region 2? Okay, Region 3. They might have some people having trouble unmuting themselves. Region 3 and Region 4.
This is Donovan in Tennessee.
Sherry in Georgia.
Tony in North Carolina.
Jim in Montgomery.
Great. And who else besides Jim in Montgomery?
Daniel in Tennessee.
Daniel, great. All right. Region 5.
Hi, this is Jennifer in Minnesota.
Mike in Minnesota.
Okay, welcome Minnesota. Anyone else in Region 5? Okay, Region 6.
Hi, this is Roseanne from New Mexico.
Fabulous. Great to have you on.
Hello, this is Audrey Miller. I'm with the Arkansas Division of Environmental Quality. I am actually I'm the P2 coordinator, the Natural State Environmental Program coordinator, and I do compliance assistance as well.
Well, great. We're so glad to have you on. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from Region 6? And how about Region 7?
Good morning, Nancy. This is Belinda Fowler from Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy.
Great. Welcome. Allison and I are both from Region 7 in Kansas. Anyone else? Region 7?
Yes, this is Lena Devakar from Kansas SBEEP. Hi, Nancy. I'm there too.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How about Region 8? Region 9?
Good morning. This is Judy Notley from the California Air Resources Board.
Super. Thanks for joining us, Judy.
You bet.
And Region 10?
This is Jim Close from the Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation.
That's great, Jim. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, this is Belinda Breidenbach from the Idaho Small Business Development Center.
Super. Anyone else that I missed? Looks like we've got Rick Felty on, and I'm not sure where you're from, Rick. And Luke Hershey. So we've got some newcomers, so don't be shy. Jen Theodore, and I'll ask Allison maybe to capture all these names that we didn't get. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? Okay, if not, we'll put you all back on mute while we continue this tour. And I just, again, want to welcome you. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're just going to use our technology here and do a quick 2-question poll. And so you should see a poll in front of you. And if you want to just read that poll and then answer the question, there are 2 questions there that you should be able to see. We'll just ask you to use your mouse to click the answer. So the first question is, how familiar are you with the National SBEEP web resources on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being most familiar? Just kind of get an idea of familiarity of the audience. And then the second question you can answer as well, how often do you use the resources? So it looks like the 65% of you have voted. I'm going to close the poll in about 10 seconds. 5 more people I'm waiting on to vote. Okay, great. Thank you so much for participating. And I can share those results. You should be able to see them. So it looks like about 38% of our audience is not familiar with the resources. So that's great. You are our target audience, and we really appreciate you being on. I know I reached out to several people yesterday, so thanks for responding and participating. How often do you use the resources? Majority of people said just a few times a year. So I'm going to stop sharing those results and we'll move on with our tour here. There we go. Okay, well, I just want to give you a little bit of an orientation. This website is the result of a cooperative agreement, as Paula Hogue just mentioned a few minutes ago. It's a cooperative agreement funded through the US EPA. And my name is Nancy Larson. I'm the director with the Pollution Prevention Institute. We also operate the Kansas Small Business Environmental Assistance Program out of the state of Kansas. And so we are the webmaster, if you will, for this website, which is just coming up on about its 4th birthday in November. In November, right around Thanksgiving is when we launched the site after it had gone dark for a few years. So in doing that, we worked with an advisory board to create what you're seeing here now. And that's just kind of a little bit of a history. But we've got all these various horizontal menus that talk about who we are, and our mission is to help small business and help small business assistance providers find environmental compliance tools so that you can then turn around and better help your small businesses in your communities. And that's really our goal. The majority of what we do is to serve people like you, the SBEEPs. We also invited today some of our compliance assistance panel members, or all of them, through our listserv, as well as our trade association. So we are connected with those groups, as well as we try to push this out to different small business groups. But the majority of people who use our website are really folks like you, the TAPs, or technical assistance providers. And we're going to go through some of these resources and especially focus on some things that are new. But typically what you'll see is our state contact map is right here. So if you ever need to find the people in Iowa, you're able to find them. So I'll also ask you at some point in time to make sure that you go to the state map and make sure that, you know, we've got your information right. So for example, I believe LaRonda has now retired. So Judy, if you want to let me know how you want this updated, that would be great. And then about once a year, we'll reach out to everyone to kind of double check on some of those things. So same with Minnesota, Troy and Mike are the two folks that we have there. And we typically are going to post 2 staff people, just so you know. But we want to make sure we've got the right information there, because a lot of people use that to reach out, especially if you're a newcomer. You may want to get a hold of someone who you know has a program similar to yours, or you may need some help, and we are all here to support, especially any of our newcomers, folks who are new to the program. But those are some of the main highlights, and we'll be going through all these various tabs here during our tour today. But what I would like to do now is I would like to toss this over to my co-host in this tour, Belinda Breidenbach from Idaho. So Belinda, I'm going to stop sharing, and you can begin sharing. And I will unmute you, Belinda. Make sure you're unmuted. There we go. We're seeing your screen now, but we do not hear you.
Okay. Can you
There
hear
we
me
go.
now?
Yes, we can.
All right. It was wanting to switch me to the a different audio source. Okay. So I hope everybody here got on the right tour bus this morning for the National SBEEP website. Make sure you type in the word national, because if you just go and type in NSBEEP, you'll get the National Society of Black Engineers. They're on the next tour bus over. So we're going to start this tour with a question that any one of the states may come up with, and then see how we would find information that would help us. So our question is, I have an auto body shop for fleet vehicles. So I'm pretty sure that would be NESHAP 6H. But I need to find out, are they subject to it? And if so, what are they required to do? And it would be really nice to be able to give them some P2 practices. So I start here on our home page, and we might as well just start on the left and go right with small business resources. And we see here we've got email, hotline. We start scrolling down and we see, oh, the definition of a small business. Well, the shop I'm working with has 15 people, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be in small. But we know that sometimes there's some interesting twists to those definitions. So here's where you would find it. And now, oh, wow, look at all of those resources. Does it make you feel, when you look at that, like you're in the city of Fez? And where are we supposed to go now? How do I get there? I'm a little confused. Well, don't be. There are a lot of choices, but let's see what happens if we just dive in. Let's go to the industry sector's website. Oh, and look right here. I see automotive. But I'm going to pop back to home and notice I could also get there right here on the industry sectors button. So I'm going to go ahead and click into automotive, and I see, oh, look, right there, smashed car, collision repair compliance assistance. Okay. So I found a couple different ways to get here, but I am actually still in the same, whoops, I'm in the same marketplace. There's just different places to go to it. Now, what was it I was needing? Was I looking for a tagine, some spices? But did you see those mental lanterns up there? That looks really interesting to do. So sometimes when you get into here, you feel a little bit like that. I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm looking at so many good things that I'm not sure where to start. So one of the things that I like to start on this, a rule that I might not be familiar with, is EPA puts out a brochure. That's a summary. So let me try this, their campaign. I'm going to say, okay, you can take me somewhere else. Let's get an overview of that collision repair campaign. And as I look down here, oh, look at that. There's one of these brochures. So I personally like to come across these because it's going to give me a general idea. I can find out, who does this rule apply to? And I see that if they use methylene chloride, oh, well, there's a question for them because I'm not sure what they're using for paint stripping. So now I have a new question to ask. And I see spray application of coatings for motor vehicles. Well, it is a fleet, so that definitely does apply. And I can go through and see if there's any way that it does not apply to them. And then here's a great overview of the requirements. paint stripping or the surface coating, we get a little bit of the impact. But right now, I'm just trying to figure out what are they supposed to do. And here's some of their record keeping and reporting requirements. Okay, so my first idea is that I can tell, yes, they are going to be subject. So I might also decide as I go back, that it's time for me to actually read the CFR, and I see it right here. So that might be my next step. I'm going to go through and make sure there's some details that I didn't miss. And I noticed right away that there's a petition for an exemption form, which gives me a clue that I need to go and make sure that they're not going to fall into some type of an exemption. So I've decided that they are subject, and now I want to calculate their potential to emit. And I'm now going, ooh, can I find something that would help me on that? Well, let's come over to our next, rules and tools. I would think a spreadsheet would fall into tools. And as I come down, one of the many things I see is there's air quality tools by state. And I can look through here and find, did somebody already create a spreadsheet? I love spreadsheets, but if I don't have to recreate the wheel, I'm much happier. So there's so many spreadsheets here. So one of the things, let me see if I can move that down. One of the things I might ask myself is, which trail should I go down? I thought I was headed to Alpine Lakes, but I didn't think it was 5.5 miles since I had been there. I might be at this point starting to get a little lost in where I'm going. And I saw some really great stuff. So I want to make sure that I find everything I need. And if I get really confused as to where I've been, there's two things. First, we're on a tour. There's always Google Maps. So I know I saw it. I just can't remember where. It was on coatings, and it was a PTE spreadsheet. Notice I'm going to ask for SBEEP right away. Where was that? And look at that. First result, it will take me right to that spreadsheet. And there it is. Now, back over here where I was, look, there it is. But I had gotten a little lost. I couldn't quite remember. So Google Maps is always a good resource. The other thing that happens to us at times is we get out there in the landscape, and it's just like if you're trekking across these volcanic fields of Iceland that go on for hundreds of miles. You know you saw something. Well, you turned around and you're like, where did I just come from? Where was that? Well, your way to navigate is rock cairns. So one of the things that you can do, and that I suggest that you do, is create some bookmarks so that you have your own rock Karens. So in your bookmark folders, just create the question that you're asking then, and then go back and book them. Because I was back there, let's see, I think I was in industry sectors, and I saw, oh yes, I saw an association that I thought looked like they might really be helpful to me. Just bookmark it. I was back a little ways and I saw that Jeff Gordon video. That could be an interesting way to get my overview. Again, bookmark it. I might decide, as well as that homepage, notice they're right here on the bar. I wanted to go and look up some things on the sustainability. Again, bookmark everything so that you can come back. But now let's say I've gone through, I've got a few other things, like I saw that interesting piece on technical colleges, and I'm wondering if that would be a good way for, after I answer this individual company's question, if I could create some outreach to the broader community. But it's not something I can do right now. So I'm just going to add a rock Karen for that. But as I went through with my auto question, I had some things that I couldn't quite answer. I didn't see it. Maybe, let's say it was a question on hexavalent chromium versus chromium-3, and I just wasn't positive where it was. So I wonder if anyone's asked that question before. Well, if we go right over here to resources, we find, look at this, a searchable consolidated question and answer resource from the main group email. Now, they go through this each year and clean everything up, make it into a great document, and I can search to see, has anyone asked my question before? And if I don't find it within all of these topics, I could go ahead and call Nancy or someone on the website coordination, but I might decide I just want to ask my question out to the main group website. And I want to make sure that I have a relevant question. I don't want to ask, as we are touring the city of Fez, if the Louvre is nearby and I'm going to see the Mona Lisa. So let's make sure that I ask my question correctly. And right here on the resources page, I can find the guidance on how to post a group email. And this is a fantastic thing to do, because even if my question had been answered 2 or 3 years ago, if I put a question out there, there may be some new people that are working on it. There may be some new resources that someone hasn't yet gotten uploaded to the state resources, and I can gain a lot more information. A quick example is that recently one of the New England states said how they had a failure of a program, and my state was looking at doing something very similar. So I contacted them and learned how they asked their questions, what they set up, why they think it went wrong, and they had spent a year into this program before realizing what their limitations were. well, I didn't have to just set up a program that I would have set up looking exactly like theirs and find out that it really had some limitations that were going to kill it. Instead, I was able to learn from what they did and then think about, well, is there a way I could reframe this and do it differently and learn from what had not gone right? So I just want to make sure that, you know, not only everything that goes wonderfully and your new programs to bring up onto here, but we can all learn from each other's failures as well. So now I am going to bring you back into the Bus Depot and turn it over to Nancy.
All righty. Thank you so much, Belinda, for that great tour. She is much more skilled than me at giving you those other visuals. I'm a little bit more direct with regard to the website, but that was really fun to see those other photos. And I'm assuming right now that you are all back on the home page. If that's not correct, I'll ask one of my colleagues to make sure you're seeing the home page here. But what I would like to do now is I would like to go into a scenario of if you are a newcomer, because we did do a special outreach in addition to sending this information out to our group listservs. We also did some special one-on-one outreach with some of our newcomers or some folks who hadn't been involved in the past, and trying to bring them back in and get them involved so they make sure they know about some of these new resources. So let's say you are a newcomer. I want to show you one of the new resources that we're working on just for you. So many of you, if I find out you're a newcomer, I'll reach out to you and send you quite a bit of information that I think is helpful for you to get you connected. That is one thing that's very important, especially if you are in your state all by yourself. You want to reach out to your other state colleagues here, get connected through subcommittees, through these trainings, so that just like Belinda said, you're not reinventing the wheel. Believe me, we have got that resource for you. Someone else has done something very similar that you can then just take and put your own state twist on. But as a newcomer, I want to make sure that you take a few minutes to go through this newcomer video. You can click here and see some of these new resources that we have listed here for you. This talks about listservs. As soon as we find out that you are a newcomer, we get your permission to add you to what we call the SBEEP main listserv. But we do have 9 listservs. Many of them are associated with our various committees, because that's how our committees discuss and plan and meet, is via the listserv. Your state contact map, which I showed you before, is a great place to find different state folks who can help you. And I am always available to help direct people and get them to connect them to the right resources. So never hesitate to go up here to the help button and send us an email or look for some other resources there that might be able to help you. So this just goes through and talks about some of the things that we've already talked about, but we had not talked about our annual training, which is really important for all newcomers to come to. We want everyone to come each year to this. We just hosted our annual training in Chicago in May, and this year it will be in DC, and EPA is hosting that, but we've got a planning committee that helps plan and put together the agenda, and then EPA is going to help us secure the location, as well as many of the speakers that you see here that are really key to our program. If you ever want to see the agenda and take a look at some of the presentations that we did have last year, you'll see them here. And you can see there are certain ones that are available on Zoom. You just click here and you will be able to get the Zoom video. but you can always find Zoom videos on our YouTube site. That you could just click there to see what is on our YouTube channel. So I just want to make sure that folks know about the new newcomer resources. There are a lot of resources for the SB EAP and SBO programs right on this page. Belinda mentioned several of them, but make sure you do know about, there's some funding sources out there. A lot of our programs have problems getting funding from the state to do our basic SB program. So you are not alone if you're having some funding issues. And maybe you want to look into some grants that could help extend your program or complement it, leverage it. We do that at K-State. Indiana does that. Ohio does that. We all use our P2 funding to kind of leverage our compliance assistance. So a lot of times we might get our foot in the door with compliance, but we also help companies implement pollution prevention, because through P2, pollution prevention, they may be able to reduce their regulatory burden. So that is a win for the company, the environment, the state. It's a win-win all the way around. So there's several resources that you see here, and we want to make sure that you have time to tour that on your own and just click around. If you ever click around and you find a broken link or a problem, please let us know. We definitely want to make sure that we fix those. One of the things that we've been working on is getting more P2 information on this sustainability resource tab. So what you're going to find is you are going to find that we've got some new sustainability case studies, and we're going to be populating these as we find them, and hopefully you'll find that these are very helpful for you. So this is a new area. And a shout out, you can see a lot of this came from Minnesota, Ohio, New York. A lot of these programs have P2 programs as well as Kansas. And so if you've got a case study that you would like on the website, please just email it to us at sbeep@ksu.edu or nlarson@ksu.edu. We'd be happy to get that posted accordingly. So now I have asked each of our subcommittees to take a minute to talk about their subcommittee and what kind of their mission is. So I'd like to go to promotion first, and I know that Belinda Fowler is on, and Belinda, you can simply unmute yourself and take a minute here to talk about your subcommittee.
Good morning, Nancy. Thanks for having us do this. I think I can speak for everyone. I'm kind of a newcomer and kind of not. And I have learned a lot just by sitting in the beginning portion of this webinar today, so thank you for that. I joined Promotion Subcommittee after our annual training in Chicago, and Annette and I are working as the co-chairs of that particular committee. We are just getting ready to push out a survey to everybody, so be looking for that. But I want to stay on target with the website here and just kind of talk about why we have a promotional subcommittee, and really it's to help promote and communicate what everybody is doing in the best interest of small business. So I like the phrase in our first paragraph up top where it says, "We strut your stuff." We need to promote the value of all of these programs on a national level, so we're grateful for this platform. We're putting together some tweets and so on and so forth to put out information to the public. As part of that, there are some helpful guidelines in here as far as a guideline for writing articles if you're submitting something to EPA and their national newsletter. And then there's also other guidelines here in the Twitter section, and anything in regard to Twitter account, those will go to Nancy. Nancy, I think you review those and then put those out for us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So some of the information on here, I think promotional subcommittee has kind of ebbed and flowed as far as action. So you'll see this video on here. It's very good, but it goes back to October 2017. If there's any suggestions for us to add new content like that, please let Annette or myself know. Social media guidelines 101, we can open that up maybe. Nancy, I don't know if you can do that. And I don't want to go over my minute either. But social media 101 guidelines, this is really, really good. I actually just accessed this in our own program yesterday. And on the second slide down where you see it says webinar technology, this is a new area for our group here in Nebraska that we're launching. I just actually sent out that second slide and actually the third slide too that says introductions for those in our agency that are putting out webinars as a new method of communication. Great information in this, so take a look at that if you get a minute.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Or go ahead,
Thanks.
Belinda.
That's okay. I was just going to say, hey, we have some additional resources for brochures. Also take a look at those if you guys are working on putting public outreach materials together and so forth.
Great. Thank you so much, Belinda. All right, let's go to technical subcommittee. Very active subcommittee, and I think Donovan or Mark are on.
Yeah, this is Donovan for the technical subcommittee. I'm the co-chair with Mark Stoddard. The technical subcommittee is one of the larger and older subcommittees of the National Steering Committee. And what we do is we try and have monthly calls on different topics, whether they are most common questions that get asked or topics proposed by subcommittee or such. Next week, we're having one on the oil and gas industry with a large slate of different presenters. In October, we have one on the quickly emerging CBD and hemp industry with Caitlin Urso from Colorado speaking on that. We do try to record the different presentations so that even if you miss the presentations, you can always go back and look at them again. And if you have any questions, certainly feel free to ask us, and we'll see either about connecting you with the expert that presented on it or in general asking the question of the entire group. We do have a lot of commentary that we on new rules that are coming out, and that way we're sort of the first line of reviewing a rule and providing the comments to the NSC in general, so that it can be sent as a, I guess, the group nationwide SBEEP to EPA. So yeah, we're pretty active, and we always like people to join us and ask questions.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm going to segue to education here in just a second, but as I do that, I'm going to let people know that on our SBEEP main listserv, that is the main one that we like to have everyone involved in. All of our state contacts are involved in that. We've got about 150 members on that. And so I will tell you that about 55% of our members are on 2 or more listservs, and another 31% are on more than 2 listservs. So just to let you know, most folks are pretty active, or at least 30% of our group is very active. 50% of the group is on at least 2 of the listservs, and a lot of times that's main and technical, because people do want to stay in tune with what's going on from a regulatory and a technical nature. And so it's an excellent, excellent subcommittee to kind of monitor. It's not like you have to attend every time, but if there is a session you're interested in, you will be able to listen in. If you can't, 99% of the time we're going to have it recorded and posted unless the presenter did not allow it to be recorded. So with that, I might just toggle over to the Education Subcommittee.
Hello, Belinda Breidenbach here, and I took over chairing the Education Subcommittee for this year. And as it says there, basically identifying questions and concerns that most anyone could have, such as newcomers, and do we know of all of those resources within the National SBEEP website? So the thing that I just want to point out is we've got some videos up here, and like Donovan said, a lot of times you can't make a presentation, or someone comes in much later and realizes that they really needed that information. And so for this year, the push is to make sure that we are getting presentations recorded and uploaded onto the website, starting with our website tour. In November, we will be having a presentation on how to read the Code of Federal Regulations. Annette had done this presentation a while back, and it did not get recorded, or got recorded and got lost somehow. And we want to make sure, because everyone was talking about how good the presentation was, that people can keep going back and seeing that. So that will be our November presentation. And
Great.
that's all for education.
Great. And I believe you all are still meeting about the fourth Tuesday of each month, and about or the fourth Tuesday of the odd months, and about 3 of the meetings are for planning, and 3 of them will be for trainings like this one, or the one that you're mentioning in November.
Right, and obviously with the website committee and Nancy Larson, we are doing this presentation jointly with 2 committees this morning.
All righty. Well, yes, we are. And so segueing to the website subcommittee, this subcommittee met quite a bit when we were brand new. And now we are really down to about 3 times a year we're meeting. And this committee basically provides advice to the website, any website resources we might need. We have decisions we need to make because we also, the program, that cooperative agreement that we have with EPA, not just supports the website, but there are 3 other things that the cooperative agreement supports, and that's a lot of the communication, collaboration, also has to do with the annual training, and then kind of that social media part too. So, but this committee really focuses on the website, and if you would like to join, we would love to have you. It's great to have newcomers join our committee because they bring a fresh eye. Hey, they ask, you know, why don't you do this? We saw this, but on a different site, we could really use it. I think, you know, we would like to have this. And we do have a quality assurance project plan that we use to kind of guide how much in the way of resources we load, when we load them. One of our big goals when we started this was to keep this fairly simple and not too heavy with the resources where you can't find what you need. And so that is definitely a challenge, as there are a lot of resources out there. But with that, I want to just say a few concluding comments, and then we're going to open it to some questions. And so just a few concluding comments, just so you know that as SBEEPs, we do have a fair amount of ready-made content for you. That is one of our goals. And we mentioned it before, but we do prepare these short Ask SBEEP topics that go into the ASBO, so the Asbestos Small Business man, I always say person, newsletter that goes out, or the bulletin that goes out once a month. But we also put them on this website just so you've got them in Word. Because let's say you've got a newsletter, or, you know, you're new and your boss has asked you to, you know, add some short article to your department's newsletter. You could go through these and you could just cut and paste and copy this text, edit it to make it fit your need. And so we welcome you to do that. We want you to use this as ready-made content. The other ready-made content is our Twitter account, right? And so you can, we would encourage you to follow us and to repost, retweet on our Twitter account. You can, I won't go into it now, but through our website you can find that. And as well as other resources like our YouTube videos. Those could be posted as well and used as needed. So any of those resources are considered what we would call ready-made. And what I'd like to do next is we are going to go into the next poll. Let me see if I can get her open here. So, all right. Okay, so the next poll, let's see, I'm going to end that. I have one more poll for you. And there we go. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to launch this poll, ask you to answer these questions. You should see in front of you a series of 5 questions that you can go through. So it should be launched. I know Allison will tell me if she's not seeing it. All right, so you can click. By taking this training, please rank your familiarity with the resources. Looks like it's not functioning. I'm not seeing it. There we go. Okay, it's updating now. Good. Great. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Nancy, while the results are coming in, Tony asked if you could show them the resource paint list, since this is the only place that we have it posted and easily available.
So that is the painting and coding list. Under the 6H, I believe, is what he's looking for. If it's something different, let's see. Oh, there we go. We've got a few chats here. We're going to, as you finish up answering these, I will find that for you. But we also are going to open it up to questions. So, Allison, I don't know if we want to read any of the questions or comments, or if people can raise their hand if you'd like to ask a question. And Belinda, I think you're going to handle that.
Yes, let's see. What do we have? Any questions on the chat? Okay, and you're going to come up with the paint resource list?
You bet. I'm going to give people just you've got 5 more seconds to finish the poll if you haven't taken it. There you go.
And it looks like Miller was having trouble. It was clicking the submit button and it wasn't doing anything. Did that get resolved?
That must be the chat button. As soon as you type in and you hit enter, it submits.
Okay, actually it was on the poll.
On the poll, okay.
And Belinda Fowler asked if you could also bring up the calendar showing when the subcommittees meet.
You bet.
So,
okay, I'm going to end.
I'll keep telling Nancy what she needs to look for. And if anyone else has something that they are having, needing some help finding or other questions about the website, please put them into the chat. You can also unmute yourself and ask that way.
Okay, so here's the calendar. It's one of our main tabs on the horizontal. And so if you have events in your state, like we had the Kansas Environmental Conference, there was an e-manifest workshop, that was a national one. Otherwise, these are all of our subcommittees, and then Region 5 also posts their meetings on this, and they do use Zoom. ASBO and the National Steering Committees, they meet once a month. There were some other highlighted meetings that EPA asked us to post. Otherwise, for the most part, we try to keep this updated, especially with the subcommittee meetings. So you can see what's kind of coming up. We've got in November, we have got the Education Subcommittee here where they're going to be doing their training, and then there's going to be another training on SB metrics that are listed here. But if you've got something special you'd like posted, simply send it to us. You could do that through the help button if you want here. We do have a toll-free hotline. Sometimes we get businesses calling us, and if we can't answer their question directly, if they're from your state, we will send them specifically to you, and then we will follow up with you to make sure that you are able to assist them. And I believe what Tony is looking for is under collision repair, and it has to do with the paints in the within the 6H petition for exemption resources, I believe, and Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but these are some resources that Tony has helped put together. They are specific to vendors, and they list these paint compounds that contain 6H compounds. So let's say, I mean, all of your businesses are supposed to have their SDSs, right? And so you should be able to make determinations from looking at their SDSs whether they contain any of the regulated metal HAPs. But you can also take a look based on the vendor on the compounds that they are selling that do have those regulated metal HAPs. Okay, with that said, are there any other questions?
I am not seeing anyone posting any new questions. I see someone who was trying to help with the poll question, but I don't believe there are any more.
Okay, one more through, but we have gone through and updated this map. We know that 15 of our states have active caps, and their cap information is linked to their state. So this is the Compliance Assistance Panel. I will make a plug for one more thing, and that has to do with our annual report. And so our annual report is under What's New, and probably in November or December there will be a call for annual report data. And this is the flyer that we put together based on your responses. This year we had 41 programs in 38 states respond. We'd like to get 100% if possible, but we're encouraging you to use this flyer to help promote your program. And so you can kind of take a look at some of the things that we've got on this flyer. There's a state version available too if you want to use something just like this, and but put your state data in it. Let us know and we'll get you that template. It is in Publisher. So with that said, anything else, Belinda, that we should cover?
I think we've done a pretty good tour. I think it's time to break for lunch.
Great. Everyone, thank you so much for participating and in this tour. And if you have any questions, please let Belinda or I know. Otherwise, have an awesome day.
Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.